Time for tonight's rewrite. Some conservatives are desperately trying to rewrite the meaning of the word racist to mean anyone who puts a difficult question to a black conservative Republican presidential candidate who used to be a Washington lobbyist. Ann Coulter staked out a position on the Herman Cain sexual harassment controversy that she couldn't even find support for on Fox News.
So you're saying, so Politico would not have written this story if Herman Cain were white?
I think they were after, yes, I think they were after him for that.
That's just the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard in my life, Ann. Seriously?
Okay, try telling this guy that the Washington press corps would not go after a white man in a sex scandal. Rush Limbaugh's spirited, non-factual defense of Herman Cain today included this.
This is a full soundbite from the Time magazine contributor, and I guess he works at MSNBC, Toure, about the Republican primary and Herman Cain. And Lawrence O'Donnell, the host of the show, said, Toure, there's just this blender of Republican racial politics has gotten mixed up together. I can't make any sense of it. Guide us through this.
Well, one thing I saw Rush Limbaugh talking about, we see who the real racists are, and Clarence Thomas is using that same sort of bazooka to fire back, is that when we point out moments of racism or moments of minstrelsy in Herman Cain's example, they just fire back and they just use the word racism. That's racist. You're racist. So it becomes this sort of negating tool that we'll just say racism wherever we see any racial politics taking place. We'll say the race card is being played anytime somebody points out a moment of racism, and that just sort of muddles the conversation to where a lot of people are like, I don't want to be part of this at all.
Rush cut what Toure had to say right there, but Toure had a lot more to say.
But I think that Cain, interestingly, does not exist without Obama preceding him. He sort of rights the ship in a lot of people's minds, or rights the scales, because Obama is alpha. He is brilliant. He's a man that you had to take seriously. He's a constitutional law professor that you had to take seriously when he spoke. Cain sort of reasserts the scales that the way people want it to be in a lot of ways. He's charismatic, but he's a lightweight. His ideas are not serious. They're not well thought out. There's this constant minstrelsy aspect that he keeps bringing up. This is not something that we're just making up out of whole cloth. He's the one who says he wants the Secret Service to call him cornbread. He's the one who says things like, "Aw, shucky ducky," when he starts. And yet Cain allows the GOP to have this sort of force where it's like, well, we're not racist. We're supporting this black man. Even at the same time that he sort of reasserts this myth of black docility and just sort of self-abnegation and like, you don't have to take us seriously sort of thing that Obama threw completely out of whack because you had to take him dead seriously.
And now here's Rush's interpretation of what Toure said.
What he was trying to say is they are stealing our technique. They're stealing our technique, and they're muddying the waters by using our technique. We're the ones who have exclusive right to the race card. We are the ones who get to decide who's racist and who isn't. And when guys like Limbaugh come along and call us racists, why, that just muddies the water and makes everybody want to forget all this and leave. We own it. We own who's a racist and who isn't. Limbaugh can't do that. Limbaugh and these others come along and say, we're being racist. We own that ploy.
We own that ploy. Rush is telling you that his calling people racist simply because they question Herman Cain is a ploy. That's his word, ploy. Rush is admitting that he is using the word racist as a ploy, which is exactly what Toure said Rush was doing. Rush explained the reason he likes to call non-racists racist. He has a very clear reason for using that ploy.
For 23 years, I'm a racist. And I'm not. Never have been. You guys are. We say it. You don't like it. Yeah, that's exactly.
There you have it. Rush's defense of being called a racist for 23 years is not to use some of his 3 hours of radio every day to clarify some of the things he has said over those 23 years that some have interpreted as racist. No. Instead of taking the time to do that, Rush's reaction to being called a racist is nothing but the infantile, I know you are, but what am I? In a country with a long, painful, and ugly history of slavery and a history of racial discrimination, including legally enforced segregation that existed during Rush Limbaugh's lifetime, you would think that Rush Limbaugh could comprehend why some of the things he has said over the years might offend the racial sensibilities of some reasonable people. Rush Limbaugh can remember black children being killed in their churches by the Ku Klux Klan during his lifetime. Rush Limbaugh was in high school when James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner were murdered by the Ku Klux Klan because they were trying to help black people register to vote in Mississippi. These things are not ancient history to Rush Limbaugh. They are part of his life experience from which, as far as we can tell, he has learned absolutely nothing. Nothing in Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, and nothing Rush Limbaugh felt as a result of hearing the horrifying news of the assassination of Martin Luther King has inhibited Rush's impulses to say things like this.
Minorities never do anything for which they have to apologize. We've elected somebody who's more African in his roots than he is American. Loves his father, who was a Marxist, and is behaving like an African colonial despot.
We are being told that we have to hope he succeeds, that we have to bend over, grab the ankles, bend over forward, backward, whichever, because his father was black, because this is the first black president.
In Obama's America, the white kids now get beat up with the black kids cheering, yeah, right on, right on, right on. Every plan he's got is reparations. He's going to take from the rich. He's going to give it to you. It just can't happen overnight. Be patient. That's what's redistribution of wealth, reparations, whatever, returning the nation's wealth to its rightful owners, whatever you want to call it, it's reparations.
Reparations. President Obama has not been able to raise a single tax rate. Bill Clinton did raise taxes. In fact, Bill Clinton pushed through Congress and signed into law in his first year as president the single biggest tax increase in history. And you, Rush Limbaugh, never called that reparations. Why not, Rush? Why do you use the word reparations with President Obama? Why? We didn't have time today to go over Rush's 23 years of radio transcripts. We only have a sampling of the Obama years, including this.
It is these wackos, from Bill Ayers to Jeremiah Wright to other anti-American, Afrocentric black liberation theologists, working with Acorn, and Barack Obama is smack dab in the middle of it. They have been training young black kids to hate this country. And they trained their parents before that to hate this country.
Rush Limbaugh knows that's a lie. He knows Barack Obama has never trained anyone to hate in this country. Rush Limbaugh knows that young black kids have never had a better national role model than Barack Obama, the student, Barack Obama, the law professor, Barack Obama, the senator, Barack Obama, the president, and Barack Obama, the husband and father. Rush knows the truth about Barack Obama, but he can't make money on that truth. And Rush is all about the money. Rush knows he didn't become the richest man in the history of political media by being reasonable and honest. Rush knows what fuels his private jet, his $60 million Gulfstream 5, is pure hatred.
Hate.